All right. Are you there, Addie?
Yes.
I'm ready to see your puppet creation.
I'll go get her.
All right.
Let's see what happens when I turn the camera on. Wait, the light's awful. Can you kind of see her maybe? There's. That's slightly better.
I love it.
She's 23 inches. And she has 11 strings. So she has her hand strings. And then her foot strings, which are hard to work when she's above you. And she can walk. And then she has strings on either side of her skirt. And then her head and shoulder strings, and then her back string.
So fun.
Yes.
Good job. I love her hair.
Thank you. I'm working on my little guy right now.
Mm-hmm.
And his hair is kind of goofy looking currently. Because it's fuzzy.
Oh yeah. So what material are you using?
Well, for little man, I'm working on using yarn. It's like an orange wool yarn.
Okay.
And then for Winifred, my witch, her hair is wool roving.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Cool. So have you decided, are you going to try and photograph her as a piece, or are you leaving her out?
Well, I'm going to try, but because I'd have to come up with like a background for her, you can kind of do something abstract, but it would still be nice to have a different background.
Cool. So you chose one of my favorite artists this week for the piece that you created.
I really liked her stuff.
Mm-hmm. Me too. Yeah. So did you have fun making your piece?
Yes, I did. It was kind of hard sewing through 2 layers of Wonder Under, but it worked, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So that brings you. Do you have all your pieces done? I didn't look in my.
No, I have 2 more.
Book. Okay.
I'm gonna do one this week, maybe 1.5. Hopefully 1.5. And then I'm planning on doing a photograph and then manipulating it.
Okay.
And that will be pretty easy and it won't be that labor intensive.
Yeah.
And then for my last piece, I'm taking a drawing and painting class at St. Vincent's College.
Okay.
Just once a week. We don't have homework, but we're going to their big studio. So I'm hoping I'll be able to work with oil, but in the hour class, I don't know what I'll be able to.
Right, what you'll be able to actually get done. How are you feeling about kind of like the photographing, scanning, and all of the like preparatory work going into your portfolio?
Pretty good about it. I'm planning on scanning all my concentration pieces because they'll be on their scanner, and some of our Brett pieces, but my other Brett pieces might be too big. Like the one I just made is larger than our scanner, so I'll have to photograph it or get Dad to photograph it because he has a big camera and is a professional photographer. So.
Oh yeah, so you're fine. I forgot about that. That's nice for you.
Oh yeah.
And did the things that I posted last week about like preparing the quality pieces, did that make sense?
Yes, it did, but I still have a couple questions on mounting it. Should I mount it like I'm going to frame it or just mount it on the board? I have some mat board. Would you like to see it?
Yeah.
Okay, let me go get it because we have a big bag.
Okay.
So it's all white, but the
Mhm.
problem is it's pre-cut. Let me see if I can. So I don't think it's going to work.
Uh-oh, I lost your voice. I can't. Oh, now you came back.
Totally good. And also, do I have to mount all of them, or do I just have to mount the ones that are smaller than 8x10?
Oh, that's a good question. Let me just I'm pulling up the directions. I haven't looked at it for a little bit. Okay, matter mount any works on paper. Mount works smaller than 8x10 on backing at least 8x10. Yeah, so it's not 100% exact. I think I would still, unless it's a like huge pain for you, I would try and mount all of them just because that gives them a little bit more of professional skill and finish quality. And you really want to be putting your best foot forward with that.
Yes.
Do you for the most part think you know what pieces you're gonna do?
Yes, I think I'm going to do my Chillis Land, which is the white and blue one with the bird.
Mm-hmm.
And then my extremity piece, which is the lady who has all the confetti.
Okay.
And then I'm thinking about doing, what was it? I was going to do my sewn portrait. I had to still wander under those together. I had the pieces cut, but just haven't ironed it yet. Mm-hmm. And then I had, what was it? Oh, Never Never Stops.
Okay.
Where the lady's sitting with a really long dress. Mm-hmm. And then there was another one for my paper cuttings.
Okay.
So that's kind of my rough list.
Okay. And we'll like officially talk about all that too when we have our one-on-one call. And kind of look at your work and figure out which pieces are both the strongest pieces and then which pieces that really make a different statement. And that's, I'm going to have to pretty much trust you on that one. Which pieces make a different statement seen physically versus seen digitally.
Yes.
Which obviously I only ever get to see them digitally. So that's where some of it will be up to you.
I definitely think that the 3 concentration pieces look better physically.
Okay.
And same with the paper cuttings in this. Well, I think all of them look better.
Well, yeah, really true. Art is nice to see in live and in person. It normally does look better. Hi, Kylie. How are you? All right. Well, it is 4:30, so I know RJ emailed me and said he was going to be joining us, but I don't know where he is. And I think Jared and Parker have a new swim schedule, and I haven't heard from Jessica, so who knows? It might just be the 2 of us. But we are going to go for it, look at your work, chat about it, and then as usual, I will hang out and answer any other questions that you have. So I'm going to switch my screen so you can see everyone's lovely artwork in a second. Wrong button. Hold on. I have 10 million screens open here. This is the one I'm shooting for. Okay. So if you can just either talk or type in the chat box and let me know that you can actually see the screen. All right.
Can.
Excellent. Okay. So as I mentioned last week, Kaylee's going on a rampage of redoing her concentration. So she has quite a few pieces in here. So I pulled a couple of them up. This one is, we've got a nice transition. So, whoops, sorry. I switched the screen on you. So last week I had mentioned and encouraged, whoa, what just took over my computer? Hold on. All right, we're back in action. So last week I had, mentioned to kind of play around with some different compositions and take things off center, which definitely happened here. And so sometimes, which I know sometimes you're just trying to photograph your things quickly to get them to me, I play around with editing them too, because it does make how I interact with them. So this one, I really kind of bumped up the contrast some more. So was there any more, since this one is finished, any more specific feedback or questions that you had about this piece? All right, I guess I'll take the silence as, oh, so RJ's here. Welcome, RJ. So I would say, I don't know where, okay. So I would say this piece, I don't think that you need to make adjustments to it. So it does show some transition from your last ones in that you have a new composition. It's no longer, in this one, it's not splitting the face directly in half. We've got a little bit of color coming through. And then I think in the email I sent you, I sent some other ideas of things you could play with.
Just trying to say about the last one I just popped in.
What?
I just popped in right now.
Yep.
Oh, first of all, hi. I just wanted to say about the last one, just to whoever did it, that's a really creative idea. I really like that.
Yeah.
Like play on that thing. I think that's awesome.
All right, so just in time, RJ. So why don't you tell us a little bit about the inspiration and your thought process behind this piece?
Okay, well, this piece is supposed to the idea. Yeah, Day of the Dead. It's inspired by Day of the Dead. I believe this was for the transformation. And the transformation I was showing here, what is life and death. You see, you have like the skeletons and sort of like the drab-colored dirt, but at the same time you have the flower and like the different designs on the skull.
Okay.
So sort of like yeah, just like skeletons like in love, and that they were in love in their previous lifetime, and you could sort of see I hid some sort of hints on just different things, so it's also focused on telling a story.
Okay. So how do you think, based on your previous work, how do you think this piece demonstrates breadth?
I think it's different in a way for me, how I sort of was able to manipulate the colors and texture.
Cool. All right, so thoughts from the rest of you before I start chattering. So thinking about once the work that we've seen from RJ, and then the idea of transformation and kind of telling the story of going from life to death. So what I want you to respond to is, do you think that this really clearly portrays a transformation from life to death? If yes, a few reasons why. And if no, what do you think he could change to make it even stronger?
First of all, I think that this skull with the designs on it is very strong by itself.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
But I do not think that it shows a very significant transformation between life and death. I think that the flowers show some life, but I don't think that the designs are lifelike or could represent life at a first glance.
Okay, so do you have any ideas of what would make this seem more of a transformation to you? Welcome, Jessica. So I think I'm not sure if you heard the first part of this conversation.
No, I just got on.
Okay, cool. So this is RJ's piece, and he was focusing on the concept of transformation and the idea of transformation from life to death. And
Okay.
so we're talking about if that comes through clearly.
Mhm.
Addie felt like she really liked this skull and the designs on it, but she didn't feel like there was a strong transformation from life to death.
Well, I do like how like there's flowers coming out of the skull, which means like there's like life coming from the death, but I don't know if it's exactly a transformation. I see like symbolism though.
Ah, very good. I think
Yeah.
that's a great differentiation between those words. So there definitely is a lot of symbolism, but maybe not like transformation would almost be like one of the skulls actually merging into a flower.
Mhm.
So we have, I think it's a little bit unclear, so I would add something else to the other skull, but I'm not sure what. Um, yeah, so I think even we're starting in this one to kind of get the idea of these flowers growing out of the skull, which starts to give the idea of transformation and starts to give the idea of life and death, but I think it needs to push even farther. So one, you did a really good job drawing these flowers. I would love to see even
Thank
like
you.
a really big one kind of coming in and almost pushing some of this away, or as well as potentially seeing roots coming out of other parts of the skull, or the flower stems really wrapping around the skull, or maybe some of the skull is even like this part right here, where it's like the idea that the skull's cracking, but if you added a little bit of green to this, it also starts to look like blades of grass.
Hmm.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Okay, I like that. Like some like grass maybe growing on the skull.
Yeah. And with these flowers, are you familiar with Georgia O'Keeffe?
Yeah, yes, I am.
Okay. I would look at some more of hers and like push that idea of like this really big, bold, beautiful flower kind of overlapping and breaking up
Mhm.
some more of this negative space. And that's going to make life and death kind of a little bit more powerful in like this pushback and forth between the two things.
Okay, cool.
Okay?
Thank you. And
You
just
bet.
one thing, and just one thing I'll just add. Just like something about this piece that I did is I was saying before that I put little hints on to kind of tell a story,
Mm-hmm.
and it's sort of up for interpretation. So there are many other themes among life and death. Like if you notice the skull with the flowers emerging from his head, that he
Mm-hmm.
has more cracks than the other skull, right? He has all the cracks in his head. So that
Mm-hmm.
could sort of represent that he had more visible flaws than this one in the lifetime,
Right.
and that he saw her as almost like flawless. I don't know, just like little stuff like that.
Mhm. Which is cool. Keep playing
Thank
on
you.
that. All right. So next up we have Jessica. This is yours, right?
Yeah, that's mine.
Okay, cool. So instead of reading that, since you're here, I'm just going to
Yeah.
let you tell us a little bit about your inspiration, what made you choose the artist, and then what made you
Okay.
decide to make this piece.
Okay, so I looked at like a bunch of the artists on the list, but I don't know how you pronounce his name. Fernand, I guess. Um
Mm-hmm.
Fernand Ledger, he really stuck out to me. Yeah, because I like he uses funky looking figures, like they're really round and they have like weird heads and they're just very abstract, but like he does a lot of like bright colors, like shapes in the background, and then he puts these figures on top of it. And I think his work just looks really fun and like playful. So I just wanted to try to recreate something like that. So I
Uh-huh.
basically just made some shapes and then laid a funky looking figure on top of it just to play with his work. So yeah.
Cool. So did you have fun making it?
Yes, it was definitely really different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, his work is very yeah, his figures are kind of whatever he like whatever he wants them to be. Some of them sort of remind me of figures that Diego Rivera does too, if you're familiar with him. But
Uh-huh.
they're very flat, and they all like their proportions are off.
Yeah, they're like round and like
Yeah,
yeah.
they look really soft,
Uh-huh.
and like squishy.
Yeah.
The exact qualities we're all going for in life, soft and squishy. Um, so was there any specific thing that you kind of struggled with in making this, or that you want specific feedback about?
I just had trouble, I guess, like with the figure. Like I don't know how it's like hard for me to imagine how people, come up with this. Like I can look at something and like copy how it really looks like, but coming up with like characters or like, abstract things is harder for me. So it kind of pushed me to like do something out of my comfort zone.
Yeah, which is really great and such a good observation for yourself, that for some people that just comes really naturally and flies out of them, and for other people it's like,
Yeah.
which is part of the reason why so often when, without really thinking, we look at artwork that kind of, looks a little bit more elementary or looks more simplified, and we easily are like, oh, I could do that. And we think we could do it until we sit down
Yeah.
and actually do it. And we're like, whoa, this is not as easy as anticipated.
Yeah, I know.
So how did you decide what colors you were going to use in the background?
I have a huge set of like markers and I just put some together that look nice, not too many of like the same shade color. Like I just kind of just played around, created different shapes because I realized he does a lot of geometric sort of shapes. So
Yeah.
I try to do something like that. Yeah.
All right. So from the rest of you, let's start with just overall thinking. What do you feel like is the most successful or kind of most eye-catching when you look at this piece?
I definitely think that the blue line that goes right across the person is very interesting and eye-catching.
Mm-hmm.
And also the thick line on her elbow, or his elbow, the elbow.
Got it. We don't know the gender, which that is okay. What does Addie say? Toybox performed at the Detroit Art Institute, and he was very impressed with the mural. I also know about him because of Frida. He was a really odd person. Wacky was the word I was going for. Yep. I agree with Addie. Also, the colors, like the bright pink on the side, stand out. One thing that I think you might want to play with some more with the figure, and if you go back and look at some of his work, so a lot of his figures are just outlined, but most of them, there's then kind of one part, which a lot of times is the hair, that is kind of like bigger, bolder, more colored in. So
Yeah.
bringing in like a big, bold, black shape, which really kind of helps to ground the figure some, and it also starts to kind of really, so part of what makes some of his work interesting is the like play back and forth between the figure and the ground, because he has the background, which you think is the background, but then all of a sudden it actually becomes part of the figure, and you start having, it's kind of like you're not sure which is which anymore. And some of those really concise, big, bold black lines are what starts to create that kind of back and forth push. So like this line that you have here, I could even see you taking this and starting this one, going one more pass and making it a little bit thicker and bringing it all the way down, just so that you have a little bit more kind of the same one with this one. So some more variety in the line quality that's going to keep pushing this back and forth of we're not sure about the separation of the two. So did you have fun working in this more kind of abstract method? Because I know you're normally very...
Yeah, it was fun, but like I think the more realistic stuff is what I'm better at. It was fun though. I got to try something different. So.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those things too. Is you're more comfortable, like you've done the realistic stuff more. So another thing that you could think about for another piece is, so how can you kind of almost meet in the middle? So how could you blend a little bit of abstraction in with your realism? So maybe you're like, this background was really fun and freeing to create.
Yeah.
You kind of let yourself go and make this kind of wild, free background. And then on top of that, bring in something really realistic, or you draw something really realistic and then color it with these weird colors and
Yeah, I think that would be really cool.
yeah, so blend the two worlds together. I think you could create some really, really interesting pieces with doing that.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I really like that it's like a kind of a creative take on like an abstract art. Like the background, like without the character, it looks like it's really cool and looks like something you might see in a museum somewhere.
Oh, thank
And yeah, and like you bring in the character who's just like coming in, messing around and interacting with the stuff. So I like that creative element.
you.
That's really cool.
Thank you.
Yeah. So what size is this piece?
It's probably like a standard piece of paper, so
Okay.
I'm not sure exactly how big that is. Yeah.
Most paper is like 8.5 by
Yeah.
11.
Yeah, so something like that.
Somewhere in that world. Cool.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Addie apparently wants you to do a multicolored tiger, zebra, giraffe. Do you want? Do you want her
That
to
sounds really epic.
Addie, or what's happening here?
That sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, that sounds like a wild animal taking place. So
Sounds
Addie happens
psychedelic. I like
to be
it.
one of my favorite artists because I'm a textile girl at heart. So Addie, if you, not all is one animal, just the colors. Got it, Addie. I was putting all those animals together. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your artist and why you chose her?
Well, I really liked Eva Hess's color tones and her more sculptural works, but because I'm not doing sculpture because you can't mix 2D and 3D, but I decided that I was going to take her color tones, and she did some really amazing pieces that are just squares, and then she had others that had circles in them, and she had all sorts of patterns and stuff going on. But I decided to take that and use silk and satin to recreate the feel. So I cut out, I think there are 12 blocks there, and then Wonder Under, which is kind of a way of sticking fabric together without sewing it, them together so I could sew them without moving. And then I put the little black squares on top, and then sewed the outside and the circles.
Those squares are black?
Yes.
Ah, they look blue to me.
Oh.
Oh no, it's a dress all over again.
Yeah.
I know. What color do they look like to the rest of you?
They look orange to me.
The little ones look orange to you?
No, they look white and gold.
Oh, RJ,
I'm
tell the
sorry.
truth.
They look blue.
Okay.
They look
All right,
blue.
everybody thinks it's blue, Addie, so I don't know what to tell you. It might be because of this blue background. Is this background blue?
No, that's black. Everything's black. It's very flat black. I can go get the piece to prove it.
Holy smokes.
I'll make sure it looks black when I photograph it. But blue's alright too. I don't mind.
Yeah, I think blue looks fine. So when you're looking at it on the computer screen, does it look blue or black to you?
Black.
All right, I don't know. Well, that's a debate for another day. We could be here for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, they look fine whether they're blue or black.
They're most certainly black. What color's the stitching then?
What?
What about the stitching?
I think this stitching looks like a navy blue.
Okay, then as long as it matches, I'm fine.
Yeah, it
Regardless,
looks like the
really
same.
cool.
Yes, it does. And this one square right here looks darker than the rest.
I don't know. I guess it's the light. It looks the same to me, but
All right, maybe I'm losing my mind. But everyone else in the class agreed with me, actually, so I think I'm...
scanned version because it might be different on the scanned version.
Oh, yeah, let me look. I think I put that up here. I did. I remember looking at this and being like, holy smokes, these look like two different pieces. And it's true. Here, it looks like, okay, this version looks like it's pink and blue. This version looks like a rust, red, orange, and black.
Yes, those are the true colors. When I photographed it, it got really washed out and the light was bad. So that's more what it looks like.
Okay. That explains that because I do remember thinking that and then I forgot about it that I was like, oh, those are two totally different colors. Okay, now that we have that problem solved, can you tell us what size this piece is?
I don't remember. I think a foot by 18 inches.
Okay, cool. So is there anything specific that you want us to talk about?
I am wondering if it needs another piece, like a big yellow square on it, because I have this very nice and soft yellow silk that matches and would look kind of cool, but I don't want to overwhelm it.
Right. Okay, well, I will answer, but I'm going to let other people answer first. And the other thing that I want you all to think about, and Addie, maybe you've already kind of played with this, is so these versions, not only are they different colors, but they're different orientations.
Yes, that is because of our scanner. I did not figure out how to rotate it.
Okay, so you want it to actually be this way.
Yes.
Okay. So turn your head sideways, folks. So you guys are responding on if you think that she should add another color, so some yellow to it. And I actually want you to think about, do you have a preference for it being this direction or this direction?
And also, there is going to be a black border on the other one, but our scanner didn't fit, so.
Gotcha. Suddenly everyone fell silent.
I like the way it is on the first one. Like, I like that how it's rotated on the first one, I think. I don't know, there's something about it. I don't know why.
Okay, that's okay. Anybody's thoughts on how much yellow were you thinking about adding?
Like a rectangle about, one moment, let me get the piece.
Yeah, I like the colors are older in the second one for me. I like that.
Yeah.
I think the border would look pretty cool.
Mhm. I do like the placement of, so these little rectangles are nice that they're not all in the same spot. So they do create the circles and the rectangles create some nice visual rhythm to kind of keep your eye dancing and bouncing around the piece. I also really like these extra threads so that the edges aren't totally clean and clear, and that the threads themselves from the piece are bringing in another fun texture.
Yeah.
Are you trying to show us something, Addie? Oh, hold on. Oh, no, I'm not measuring. Okay. About the size of your hand. Got it. What I'm going to have you do, Addie, just since it's kind of like a commitment, once you put it down and I'm in my head without actually seeing it, I kind of keep going back and forth between, yeah, that could be really interesting, or like, oh, it doesn't need anything else. So I know that the stitching also will impact it, but go ahead, and it's fine if you photograph it and it looks, you know, pink and blue. Is just like either lay the piece of yellow down where you would want to put it, or even if you don't want to use the fabric and you just want to like color in on this image, like I would put yellow right here, and just shoot that my way and I'll share my thoughts with you. How's that sound?
Sounds good. You probably can't see it.
Okay. Oh wait, what are you showing me?
Those are.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
Okay.
So it's kind of large.
Yeah.
And definitely just orangey, red, and black.
Yeah, I believe you now. In the beginning, I was a little bit unsure, but I believe you now. Cool. Yeah, so shoot me an image of where you think you might put that yellow.
Really cool.
All right. And another one. All right. And our lovely horned bird creature is up. you want to tell us a little bit about the artist you chose, why, and your inspiration?
I chose Hannah Hawk, I think you pronounce it. Okay. And I chose her because I wanted to try a collaged piece with my concentration statement because I thought it would be really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And I have the creature thing has the eye of a cougar, the head of a bird, obviously, like horns, and also has a whale tail. And I put the background words as like articles that were where I found the animals from.
Very cool. So, you know what? You said this is a whale tail?
Yes.
I kept thinking it was a slug.
That's kind of what I thought.
Where is it a whale tail? I'm so confused.
It's like upside down.
Oh, and to the side. Oh, I see it. Well, it works as a whale tail or a slug. It's kind of fun. So how did you go about deciding like how you were gonna piece everything together?
I just cut out a bunch of random animal pieces and stuff, and I found this. I was looking through all these different magazines, and I found this lady who was like in this really cool position that I thought these things would work.
Okay.
So I just like cut up a bunch of things and just like first laid it out to see like what proportionally worked and what didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And I originally didn't have the hat, but I felt it needed something, and also the hat gives it a lot of sass. So
Yeah. Yeah. So did you have fun making this?
yes.
Cool. Yeah, I think the hat really helps to like finish it off, and I would call her a she. She definitely has some attitude to her, which helps. Like the bird's eye has a little bit of attitude to it, and then throwing that hat with the horns on really helps it out. I also love that you kind of left some of the torn edges. It creates a nice line quality and an interesting texture. And then the layering of all these pieces really creates depth to it. It kind of looks like you go back into these places, which is worked out really well. And then a good job with the red in the wings and the red in the beak, which kind of helps to balance and bring us back and forth, especially when it kind of looks like she's like has the most fabulous stiletto heels on ever, and is just like balancing there on the edge that we feel like she might fall over, but this kind of going back and forth really helps to work out with that. So any other thoughts or comments about our bird whale woman?
I think it's really cool. I like the idea a lot.
I agree.
How you like just created a. Oh, sorry, what were you saying?
Oh, I really like how you layered the background with the blue-gray magazine page on top of the text.
Yeah, cool. I think.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's a really unique way of creating a character, I think. My favorite thing, I really like the hat and the horns. That adds a lot to it for me.
Mm-hmm.
Just looks really cool.
Then I think this is the last one. So if you want to tell us a little bit about this one.
I made it as like this lady who's turning into some sort of fish, but I didn't want it. I wanted to do something with underwater creatures, but I didn't want it to make it look like a mermaid with the mermaid tail and everything because I feel that that's too common. So I made her sort of like in just like the shadow of her and like towards the back. And I added bubbles to show that she's underwater, and I have like her hand against some sort of glass, like she's being like, I don't know what the word is, but yeah. So, like she's being like held captive, yeah.
Yeah. So is there any specific feedback that you want about this piece?
I don't think so. I was wondering if there's too much negative space on the right side of her face and that I should add some more bubbles, or if it was fine.
All right, well, let's hear from your classmates first. So what do you guys think about this piece?
I think it's really cool, and I don't think that it needs more bubbles, except for maybe at the top a little bit, like they're going up. But I really like how it looks like her hand is pressed against the glass. And your expression is perfect. That's what I'd look like if I was turning into a fish.
I really like it too, but maybe like you could put more bubbles on the right side because the right side has more negative space, so it might like add to it. I don't know. That's just my.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Oh, go ahead, RJ.
I don't think you have to add too many bubbles, just like a few, kind of just sort of subtle. I think the negative spaces kind of brings out everything else better. And I just really like I just really like how it tells the story, you know, like she's being held captive. That's awesome.
Mhm. I think when you're thinking about the bubbles, the negative space doesn't really bother me because of the overall emotion of the piece that it would, you know, thinking about being trapped underwater would feel so dark and deep and empty and kind of overwhelming. And so this makes it feel like the negative space is swallowing her. So what I would do instead when you're thinking about the bubbles is like right now with the amount of bubbles and kind of positioning of her mouth, it's almost like is kind of like admitting defeat, where as opposed to if you think of if you were trapped underwater, which I hope none of you ever experience,
I
you
hope so too.
like tons and tons of bubbles would be flowing out of your mouth because you probably would be screaming and freaking out and panicking. So it kind of almost gives like two different states of mind and two different times in the story. So you could think about that. The other thing that I would maybe play with just to kind of push some more elements of art is like look up a picture of really like what what webbed feet look like and see if you can bring just a little bit more detail into like this web that is growing between her fingers. So there's normally kind of some more, like a few more lines happening that maybe just make that really stand out more. But other than that, I think you're done.
And maybe a reflection where the blank space is, like the glass is reflecting.
Yeah, a reflection could be interesting too.
I like how her mascara is sort of like dripping. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really good effect.
Cool. I think that was the last. Yep, that was the last one. So I'm going to jump back over to you. I think. Okay. So if you weren't on the site yet this week, so this week I have you kind of going through more of a reflection process. So most of you have about 2 more breadth pieces to do. And we have like 3 weeks, I think, 3 or 4 weeks. So what I want you to do is it's really asking you to look closely, and you'll see there's 2 different forms. So you want to make sure you click on the one. There's one if you're going for the drawing portfolio, and there's one if you're going for the 2D design portfolio. And everything I pulled from the rubric that the College Board would be looking at, and instead of going through the whole rubric, I pulled some, kind of like some of the more overarching topics. And you're going to be plugging your pieces into whichever area that you think is the strongest. And I have you pulling one example from art history that you think kind of goes with it. I gave you the link to, you're welcome to just Google whatever you want. I also gave you the link to a Pinterest board that I have that's full of art history images that you can just pull from. And then at the end, you're answering the question of what are your 2 top priorities moving forward. So if you go through the journal reflection process, and if you're doing the 2D design portfolio that's really supposed to focus on elements and principles of art, and maybe you realize there's one principle of art that you've completely ignored, then that becomes one of your top priorities to bring into one of your next 2 pieces. Or same thing with drawing. So drawing, you're focusing on the drawing issues. If you realize that you've really been ignoring, avoiding one of the drawing issues, that becomes your top priority. So the goal of it is to have you really reflect on what you have done and if anything needs to be changed, but you still actually have time to make changes to it, as opposed to doing it the last week of the course and being like, oh, I should have done X, Y, and Z, but now I don't have any time to do it. So that's your assignment, and then you should do that first. And after you've done that, then you're kind of responding and making your next breadth piece based on what you know you're really missing. Does that make sense?
Yes.
It'll probably make more sense when you look at it too, as opposed to just hearing me jabber about it. But as usual, if you look at it and you're confused, or if you're really stuck, feel free to shoot me an email and ask me. And then, so next week, I also wrote on there for all of you that, so next week, which is the 20th and the 27th, we don't have the live class call, because I'll be doing the one-on-one calls with all of you, where we're really making sure that you are comfortable with the submission process, have everything that you need together, and all of those things. Okay, so there's not a live call for the next 2 weeks. We're doing our one-on-one calls. All right?
The date that would work would be the 27th, right?
For you?
Yes.
Let me pull up my calendar. I think that's where I put you. Oh, here's my calendar. I have too many screens open. Let's see. Not May. We're in April. 20. Yep, RJ, I have you down at 4:30.
Okay, so
So it's the exact same time as this.
okay, that sounds great.
Okay? Cool?
Sounds great.
All right, folks. Have a wonderful evening, and I will see you all soon.
Thank
Bye.
you. See ya.
Yeah.